Hi, welcome to Tutorialspoint. In this video series, we are going to start a very basic course for any newcomer who wants to learn the website development. So here in this video series, we are going to start HTML, using which you can definitely learn how to create a simple web page. And after that, when you will be done by creating number of web pages, you can simply link them up logically in order to create a bigger aspect that is called the website. Whatever website you can make using HTML will remain static unless and until you will include any server-side methodology in order to make them dynamic. But we'll not discuss about some advanced things here. We are going to discuss very basic things, as this course is specially designed for the very beginners. So here, what is all required before you getting started with HTML is the basic fundamental knowledge of computer, like how to start. Obviously, you are watching this video, you know how to start, alright? You should be familiar by how to create the files, how to create the directories. You should have a basic text editor. Like I'm a Microsoft user, Windows user, so I'll be using a Notepad or Notepad++, which is again a free of cost software for me. So I will just use those as a text editor where I will write the HTML. And once I'm done with writing the HTML, I would like to see the output. And you can see the output in any web browser. Like we do have a lot of browser like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari. As per your requirement, as per your choice, you can just get a free browser online and you can start working on HTML. So this is the only requirement. Now, before getting started more about the HTML, let's get some basic idea what this HTML is all about. So basically, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So let's understand what this word Hypertext Markup Language stands. Language is a very simple thing. Like whenever I would like to make a communication, I will use a language. Like right now, we are communicating with each other. So I am using English as a language. But here, by the time I will start creating a web page, I will use a separate language called HTML, which will be understood by a web browser. How a browser understands that? Because every browser has a parser which reads the HTML and accordingly it will show the output. When I say markup language will represent any tag-based language. Tag-based language is something where the angular brackets like the less than and greater than symbol will comprise a tag. I'll show you how the tag-based language looks like. We do have a lot of tag-based language nowadays, but here we'll show you the basic structure of any tag-based language, and especially here we'll talk about the HTML. And hypertext. What this hypertext is all about? Basically, whatever text you require in order to create a web page is a hypertext. If that particular text contains a link, means that link for some other location, maybe some other page or some other location on the same page, that text will be called hyperlink. Alright, so what I said, whatever text is required to create a web page is hypertext, and if that hypertext contains a link to other location, it's a hyperlink. Alright, so hypertext markup language. This is all about the name. Now, as I said, this is a tag-based language. Alright, you can see it's a tag-based language used to create the web pages. So, whenever you would like to create a website, it will start by creating a single web page to multiple web pages, and then after linking them logically, it will be a website, because website is nothing but logically linking of the web pages. It is created by Berners-Lee in the end of 1991, and this language from that time onward is being used in order to create a basic structure of the web pages. Like whenever you create a web page, what you put there? Maybe a line, some table, some images, headings, list, whatever. So whatever you want to put on a web page, including a media or something, you can use HTML in order to do that all. So what I said is developed with the intent of definition the structure of the documents like heading, paragraph, list, etc. Now let's discuss how this HTML actually works. So basically HTML is sent from server to client's browser. What is that? Whenever like you are working on tutorialspoint.com or Facebook, Gmail, sometimes when you check the your mails, so what you do is you go to the address bar of any web browser, you type a URL, you press enter, and after some time you will get the page. Alright, so basically what it does, it actually is sending the HTTP request. Yes, basically whenever you are making a communication over the network means it's internet. Alright, so whenever a communication takes place over the network, some kind of protocol is required, and that protocol will be nothing but the rules and regulations in order to create the communication successful. So depends what kind of material we are going to transfer over the network, we will use that particular protocol. So here which protocol am I working with? I'm working over HTTP protocol, that is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Transfer, you all know what is transfer, and protocol is a rules and regulation. Again, the term hypertext is here, and what I said just now, hypertext is the text which is used to create a web page. Alright, so whenever a client is making a request, http://www.tutorialspoint.com, facebook.com, whatever site you are seeking for, you are making an HTTP request, and what it is doing actually is, if your request is valid, listen, there are a lot of things that goes on the background, but as I said, this course is for beginners. I'm not going to cover all the advanced methodologies here, but I'm taking in a very basic example. So as here you can see, it's a server, here are the client, and they are connected with the internet. So whenever a client browser, obviously when I say client will make a request through the browser because it is in HTTP protocol. So the client is making a request to the server, and every time when an HTTP request is made, if that particular request is valid, means if the client is authorized to access that particular page, only then the HTML of that particular page will be sent from server to client over the network using HTTP protocol. As soon as the HTML is on the client's browser, I told you like browser have the capability of reading the hypertext markup language and can show the output as it is designed. So this is how the communication takes place over the network. Using HTTP protocol, the server will send the HTML of the particular page. As I said, in a website there could be a number of web pages, so whichever page is required, the server will send that particular web page over the network to the client browser, and browser will read the information and will show it to the user. So let's see how the HTML looks like. So here you can see it's HTML. These are the tags, like the angular brackets I was talking about. These are the tags. So whenever an HTML document need to be created, we'll start it with the HTML tag, we'll finish it up with the closing tag of HTML. As you can see, what is the closing tag? We are putting the slash just before the name of the tag. This is the opening tag and this is the closing tag. Alright, so majorly means basically most of the tags which we will learn will have the pair like opening and closing. We do have some non-pair tags which I will discuss during the course curriculum itself. So any HTML document can be classified into two basic parts, that is the head and the body. Like a human body, first we have the head and then we have the body. So head is for the identification, why this page is being created. So that will be containing the title tag, alright, that will be stored inside the title tag. So this is document title. Now you can also put some of the resource like things like any JavaScript code or style sheets which you want to use later in the document, but we will not cover those things here. So let's keep it till title for now. And now comes the body. Body is something which is the main area of the web page, means whatever you see in the browser is the body part. So here I'm just putting a heading which is H1. Alright, H1 is the biggest heading. We will see some more headings in our coming video. So H1, this is heading. So when we will save this particular document with an extension HTML, we can open that over the browser and then we can see the output of this particular web page. We are going to start the implementation. So in this particular video, I'm going to use Notepad++ as a text editor, as here I am the Windows user and Google Chrome as my browser. You can choose a basic text editor and a browser of your choice, and then you can continue with the same example as I'm going to do. So let's see how to start the basic implementation of HTML. So for getting started, what I need is a text editor. So as I said, I'm working in a Windows system. So here I can use Notepad or Notepad++ to write the basic HTML. And here I will use this Notepad++, which is available online for the free of cost. Now here I can start writing the HTML using the basic elements, that is tags, which will help us in designing this document. So what I'll do, I will start with the Angular tag, Angular braces here, which I call the tag. Alright, so here I'll start with the HTML tag and will finish it up with the closing tag of HTML. In closing tag, I will just put the slash before the HTML or any particular tag. So this is the pair tag, which is having one opening and one closing tag. So whatever I want to put in this HTML, I will put all the things inside these two tags. Now, I will classify the complete document of this HTML in two main portions, that is the head, again with the opening and closing tag, and once you will close the head, you will start with the another section called body. So basically what these two sections will do for us, this head section will take all the resources and titles. For example, if in the future you're going to put some JavaScript, CSS or any particular library which you want to use later in the body, you can put that all inside the head section. And in body, I will put all those particular portions, all those particular elements which I want to display to the user over the main browser area. So here in the head, what I'll do is I will put a title tag for now, which will be shown in the title bar of the tab. So here I will say first HTML page. Alright, so for now let's save it, and for saving I'll say Ctrl S since it's Windows. And somewhere in your system, as here I'm using E drive and HTML pages folder. So somewhere in your system you can save it. So let's save it with the name first.html. So you can add that HTML extension by yourself, and since here I'm working with Notepad++, it will give me further options where I can choose the HTML. Alright, so it will be decorated as HTML. So as soon as I'll save it, you can see some formatting helps here in Notepad++ is highlighting the tags with the blue. Alright, so since I have saved it, let's try to see that in the browser. For that, I will come to the very location where I have saved my web page. So it is E drive HTML pages folder, and this is the file which I just created. So let's open this, and here at the top of your tab you can see there is the title my HTML page, and there is nothing in the body because I haven't put anything. So as I said, Whatever you want to show to the user, you can write that all right here. For example, my first HTML page. I have to save it every time. I'll come back to the browser, and here I will refresh by pressing F5, or you can click over this button. So it will say you my first HTML page. Whenever a client will request for this particular page, the complete HTML is actually sent over the HTTP protocol over the browser of the client. So when you right click, you can see view page source, and here you can see all the raw HTML which I have used for creating this particular file. So in this video, we are going to discuss few more tags which will make you comfortable with the HTML, and apart from that, you will also know what different options are available with you in HTML. So let's discuss about the basic tags in HTML now. So now here I'll start the basic tags with the heading tags. So for that, here, as I said, I have 6 level of heading tags starting from H1, which is the biggest in size. You can carry on with the remaining ones, that is H2, still H6. Alright, so what I'll do, I'll just say this is heading 1. Alright, so let's come to the browser where I have already opened it, and as soon as I will refresh, you can see this is heading 1. Now I can continue with the others. Alright, so we'll do required changes. So now as here you can see, I have used all the 6 tags, that is from H1 to H6 with the different text. So as soon as I will save the document, I'll refresh it here. You can see the different size of headings are now available over your browser. If you want to align them all in the center, what you can do, you can just put the center tag. So I will put the center from the beginning and will close at the end. So I have actually enclosed all the 6 headings inside it. So all will be aligned center now, like this. Alright, if you want to make it alignment right, in coming videos we'll start working with the attributes which will help us out in aligning by putting more attributes to any tag, but for now I'll just only go for the headings. As here you can see, all the different headings are appearing in the different line, but if I'll put the different text, for example, if I'm writing a very basic text, a paragraph, so for paragraph I will use a P tag, and after that I can start writing whatever I want. So let me first remove these tags to make the output more clear, and inside this I will put a paragraph tag. Again, I'll close it at the end, and between that I will write all the text. So this is a new paragraph. Alright, you can write as much as you want inside this, but now if I want to put the next line in the another line, means let's say this is next line. So you can see all the things are there in the same line. Alright, but if I want to break the line from here, what I can do is I can put the BR tag. So basically this BR is a single tag, means it is not a pair tag, because I don't want to write anything between the opening and closing tags of BR. So what I can do is I can actually close it immediately. Even if you will not close it, it will not going to show you any error, but technically whichever tag is open has to be closed. So here I will make it a empty tag, means a non-pair tag, and I will close it immediately. So now when I'll refresh, you can see it has broken the line. Similarly, if you want to put some more spaces between any words, for example, by default when I'm giving a single space, it is showing a single space out here as well. But in case if I'll give some space to this, some more spaces, they will not be reflected. Alright, so for giving the extra spaces, what I can do is I can use AND ampersand NBSP. That will be equivalent to the half space. So now I'll copy paste that for giving multiple spaces, and as soon as I'll come here and refresh, you can see there are some spaces between these two words. Now similarly, if I want to put some formatting inside, means pre-formatting in my web page, that is not possible by default. So as for example, if I want to draw this particular pattern, alright, so I want that these asterisks, these stars should be displayed over the web page like this. But when I will refresh here, you can see all are coming again in a same line, because only one space will be shown between these asterisks. Alright, so if I want to display all these things as it is, or wherever I want the output, that should be as it is as you have designed it here, I will go for the pre-formatted tag, that is this pre tag. So whatever formatting you will do inside this, whatever you will write in between these tags, they will be displayed as it is. Alright, as here you can see, now the output and this particular pattern is exactly the same. Now let's take one more scenario. As I have already gone through the heading tag, here I am using the h2. So maybe this is the heading of my page, and after that I want to start a paragraph related to this. Alright, so this is paragraph 1. Alright, so obviously it will be looking like this. Now I want to draw a line between the heading and the paragraph to mark it as a separator. So for that, what I can do, I can use the HR tag. It will draw the horizontal line in my web page like this. Alright, so if you want to alter the size of this particular HR, I will do that with the help of the attributes. But here I'm not going to cover the attributes. Here we are just going through some basic tags. So this is the HR tag which will draw the horizontal line in your web page. So these are all some basic tags using which you can start writing some basic HTMLs. So far in this HTML curriculum, we have covered a lot of tags, but all the tags so far were being appeared in their default properties. For example, when I am putting a body tag, the background of that body is white. Maybe I would like to change the color of that background. Similarly, when I am showing the heading, I want to change the alignment of that particular heading. So we can do all those things by putting the attributes to our tag. Basically, all the HTML tags has some attributes along with a default value. But if you don't want to change the default value, you can omit writing those attribute names. But now we are going to see about the attributes as well. So it's used to define the characteristics of an element, like how you are going to show the particular HTML element or a tag. It's placed inside the opening tag, means by the time you will, we have the couple of things like opening tag and closing tag. So when you pass the opening tag, inside that you will mention the attributes followed by the value. So that will be made up of two parts, the name and value, means the name of the attribute and its value. For example, if body is my tag, I want to change the background color, so BG color is my attribute, and red, maybe I want to make it red background, so red is the value. So let's see, here's an example also. So like the same example, HTML head, title, body, and then inside that you can see body, BG color, tan. Alright, so I want to change the background color to tan and the alignment of this heading to right. So these are the attributes followed by the values. So let's see how to use the different attributes for the different tags in this practical example. So now if I want to use some of the attributes with our existing HTML elements, what I'll do, as here we have already learned about h1 tag, I'll start putting some attributes. Most of the attributes nowadays, as I said, will be coming through the CSS, but here we'll not cover CSS, but we'll try to put the attributes by a basic HTML itself. So here what I'll do, I'll put an attribute called align, and here I will say center. As in the previous video, when we were covering some of the basic elements, we saw the center tag, but that was doing the alignment center for everything which is existing between those center tags. But this is particularly for the first H1, so it will only be applicable for the first tag only. So let's save it and we'll refresh it here, so you will see now its alignment is center. Similarly, if I'll use the same align attribute with the another tag, that is h2, and here I will say right. So this is the element, attribute and the value. When I'll refresh it, you can see this heading is now have alignment right. And since we have the default value, every element has some attributes and every attribute has the default value. So for here, as we were seeing, that the default alignment for H1 or for any heading is left. So if I'll put the default value, it will not be affected anyhow. So now onwards, whichever tag we will start learning about would be having some attributes followed by few values. For example, as we have discussed about the horizontal line, that is HR, that was used to put this horizontal line. But if I want to change some of the things in that default HR, I will again use the attributes, like width is the attribute, and here I will say 50%. That means the 50% of the complete width will be assigned to this HR. As you can see, the default alignment for this HR is center. So if you want to make changes, you can simply say align is equal to left. Just put that inside the quotes. And now this is having the left alignment. Alright, so but I'll remove this for now. So if you say height, I will say height in pixels only. So I'll say, let's say 10 pixels. In case you want to change the color of this HR, I'll use the attribute color and we'll say red. Alright, so these are all the things which you can use for making the changes in default appearance of any HTML tag. We are going to cover the formatting tags. Formatting tags, as the name says, which is used to modify the output. Alright, so how we can do the formatting of a HTML document? We can do it from these formatting tags which are coming now, like the bold, italics, underline, superscript, subscript, like bold, italic, underline, you know. When you want to show some text at the bottom, like if you're from chemistry background, there is something called H2O. So 2 is at the bottom at this smaller size, so that is the subscript. Similarly, superscript, like 10 square, x square, so that is the superscript tag. Big, small will basically modify the size of the font from the current font size. Like big will make it bigger, as the name says. Small tag will make it smaller. Alright, and monospaced. Monospaced, like when you use different alphabets, like I, O are having different area consumption, like I take lesser space than O. So if you want that all the characters should take a equal space, then that part you can use the monospaced tag. So let's see all these tags practically and see how they change the appearance or the formatting of the web page. So now, in context of formatting tags, I will start the things with the bold tag, that is represented by the letter B. So inside B tag, I will write like this is bold. So as you can see, this particular text is shown as bold. Similarly, I can go for the I tag, that is the italics. So it will convert a simple text into the italics font. So as you can see, this is italics. Alright, so just to put some gap, I will use the BR tag here. Alright, and I will do that again after the italics. Now U tag I will use for the underline. So basically, if you want to underline some important text out in a paragraph or maybe for any purpose, you can use this underline tag, that is the U tag. Alright, so as you can see, these are the things. In case you want to put multiple tags in a same, so you will have to apply the LIFO in that. For example, for a single text, I want to use B as well, U as well, and I as well. Alright, so this is my text, is the text. Now after that, I'll have to first close I, then I'll close U, and then I will close the bold tag. Alright, so this is what I call the LIFO, last in first out. So this was the tag which opened at the last. I will close it first. So here is the text. Alright, it's bold, it's italic and underlined. Similarly, we do have a tag here called strike, but before that let me put a BR again. Yeah, so now let's talk about the strike tag, which basically strikes out a particular text which you will put inside. Alright, let's say this is strike tag. So I just use the word strike between this strike tag, so that will be okay. I didn't close that. Alright, so only this one will be striked out. Similarly, in formatting, I do have some more tags, that is the superscript and subscript tag. So let's say if I want to use something like a subscript, so for that I will use like H, then I will use the superscript tag, that is subscript tag, that is sub 2, and then I'll close this sub tag. Alright, and then O. So let me break the line again. So you can see, let me increase the font size. It is the subscript when you want some tag to be shown in this subscript manner. Similarly, we do have the superscript, like if I want to write 10 cube, so 10, then I will use superscript cube, and then I will close that superscript. Alright, so this is the 10 cube. So now let's continue with some more tags, that is the small and big tag. So basically for that what I'll do, this is small text. Alright, and I have enclosed that inside the small tag. So this particular text will be smaller than the before text, right? Like this is written before than this, so this one is comparatively bigger than this particular text. Alright, similarly we do have the big tag. Alright, that is for in that what I'll do, this is big text. Alright, so I'll close it here, and as you can see, this one is comparatively bigger than this text. Alright, so these are some tags which you can use for the formatting purposes.
We will discuss about the phrase tags. Suppose you are working on a big text on a particular HTML document, and out of that you want to emphasize some particular part, like you want to highlight a particular part differently. So in that particular case you can go for the phrase tags, which are as here, like emphasize. This EM tag that you will use will make the italic text out of the big text. Marked text will change the background to yellow. Strong will make it bolder. When you say address, it will basically come in a new line and then it will be italics. Abbreviation, if you want to show a particular text on means a small form of any particular bigger text, like TP for tutorials point, that is the abbreviation. And quotation tag, which will actually put the text in the double quotes. So let's see how these tags will affect the output of a HTML document. So let's start the practical implementation now.
Now in context of the phrase tags, I'll start working with the EM tag, that is emphasize tag. So in whichever text you will put this EM tag, that will be italics, alright, that will look like an italic text. So basically now in the complete paragraph, I'm emphasizing on these particular words. So whenever you want to make something like emphasized, you can use the EM tag for that. Similarly, you can use the tag mark in order to highlight some of the important text out of a paragraph. So as here you can see, background of the particular color, that means the background of this particular text marked will be yellow. Alright, so if you want to make some changes or if you want to highlight a particular text out of a big paragraph, you can use the mark tag and can enclose the important text between that. If you want to make the changes in the color, like this one is highlighted from yellow, so you can later start working on CSS, which will help you out in highlighting the background of any text with the color you want. Now next tag in the phrase tag list is the strong tag. So whenever you will put the strong, the text enclosed within it will be look bolder than others. Alright, so like this one is the strong tag. Alright, so this will help you out in highlighting in the another manner. Like first of all, I was changing the background color of any particular text. Now I'm using strong to make it bolder. Similarly, all the three tags which we have used so far, like emphasized, mark and strong, all are actually highlighting the particular text out of a paragraph in the different manners. Similarly, we do have a tag here in the list called the ABBR tag, that is the abbreviated tag. Alright, so basically whenever you want to use some abbreviations, you can use the ABBR tag where you will put the full form of the particular abbreviated text. For example, I want to say welcome to Tutorialspoint, but here rather than using Tutorialspoint, I've used TP. So using this abbreviation tag, I will tell that TP stands for Tutorialspoint. So let's come to the browser and see how this abbreviation tag is looking like. So here you can see there's some dotted underline between beneath the TP. When I will put the mouse over it, you can see the full form of TP, that is Tutorialspoint. Now the last tag in the list which we have is the address tag. Basically this address tag is used to enclose an address between itself. So whatever text you will use between the address will be looking like this, means automatically the line is broken. Alright, it is coming down and in the italic form. So it is not just showing the text in the italics, but it is also breaking the line, as you can see. After that, I am not using the BR tag anywhere, but as soon as this address tag is started, it is coming completely in a new line. So this is how you can use these phrase tags in order to decorate your HTML page.
We will discuss about the meta tags. Meta tag is somewhat out of league from all those tags which we have covered so far. So basically, why this meta tag is used? Meta basically stands for metadata. Metadata means the data about data or the information about the information. For example, our web page will give you some sort of information, but the information about that page will be given by the metadata. For example, if I am creating a website like Tutorialspoint where I want to put some of the information like why I am creating this particular page, using what all keywords you can search this particular page from any search engine like Google. So those things will be put in the head section inside the meta tag. So let's specify the metadata that I said, the information about the information. Meta elements can be used to include name value pairs. Name value pairs means the name of a meta tag like keywords, and the value will be a list of all the keywords. Similarly, if you want to put a description, so name will be description and value will be the actual description of that particular page. So does not have a closing tag because it carries all the information in the attribute. So basically this name and value is nothing but the attribute. So meta tag name is the attribute, then its value, and then value is again an attribute, then its value. I'll show you in the practical, don't get confused now. So that means the thing is it doesn't have a closing tag because I don't want to write anything between the opening and closing tag of metadata. One or more meta tags can be included. As I just said, like we can put different names, like first for the keyword, second for the maybe the description, and so on. So we can have more than one metadata. Doesn't impact the physical appearance of the document. Initially I told you like whatever I will see in the output of the browser, that will be in the body part, but I'm going to put this meta tag inside the head. Other thing is it is containing the metadata, not any formatting thing. So it will not impact the output up to a bit. So let's see what all tags are, means what all attributes are available including this meta tag and how to write the meta tag in the head section of HTML. So let's start the practical now.
So now here in the meta tag, which I already told you, like we will be using this particular tag inside the head section. So let's come here in the head and I'll start putting the meta tag inside it. So the first tag which I have used, as I said, we can use multiple meta tag. So the first meta tag which I have implemented here is for the keywords. The keywords is used for the search engine optimization, so that if you want your page to be searched by using any particular keyword which a client will use, you can add all the possible keywords out here in this particular content. Alright, since the name of this meta tag is keywords, so here we'll put all those words which can be used for searching a particular page or a content. Similarly, if you want to give any description about your web page, you can use another meta tag where you will use the description in the name and then after you can use the content. Make sure that all these things will not make any change in the output of your web page, because I am using it for the internal purpose for giving some information about the web page. So the output of the web page will be as it was. So here in the body I have just used the h2 tag. So in the body you will only see this heading, but no change will be shown when I will put these meta tags. Similarly, let's add another meta tag here in this context. So now I have used the name revised. That means I'm putting the information like when this particular page was revised last. So here in the content you can see the author, means who made the changes, that's the Tutorialspoint, and the date on which the last revision of this particular page took place. And similarly, if you want to put the name like who particular member, who author write the content of this particular page, then you can use the author name in the meta tag and can put some more details about it. So as you can see, this meta tag is just being used so far for putting the different information about the page. That's why we call it metadata, alright, the meta tag, because it is containing the information about the web page. Now let's add another meta tag which will give me a different kind of feature. Here I am not using the name keyword here, name attribute here, rather I am using the HTTP equivalent, alright, means the HTTP hyphen equiv attribute. So here the name of this is refresh and content is 5. That means if you want your page to be refreshed after a certain amount of seconds, then you can use this refresh HTTP equivalent within your meta tag. So as I mentioned 5, so right after 5 seconds
it will be refreshed. Means after every 5 seconds your page will be refreshed. So let's see how the means if there is any change in the output or not for now. So here let me refresh the page. Alright, so we'll have to see after 5 seconds. Alright, I saw something refreshing. Just focus right here. After every 5 seconds you will see a blink out there. That is nothing but it is actually refreshing the page after the certain amount of seconds. Alright, apart from that, if you want to redirect your page after every 5 seconds, or maybe after 5 seconds, like suppose there is a banner page which I have created for my website. So before going to actual website, I want to show that particular banner for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, and then automatically if the user is not clicking on any of the banner, I will redirect him to the actual website. So if I want to do something like that, I can just add one more attribute here, that is the URL. Alright, so right here after the content 5 then semicolon URL. So after 5 seconds when the refresh will take place, it will actually be redirected to the another web page, that is the home page of Tutorialspoint for me. So let's come to the browser and refresh it. So let me refresh this, and maybe after 5 seconds it will take me to the Tutorialspoint. So as we expected, it did the thing in the same manner. And finally, if you want to put the MIME type which is used in your web page along with the encoding, you can use the again HTTP equivalent tag where the content type is text/HTML and char set which we are using is Unicode transformation format 8 bits. Alright, that is UTF-8 encoding is there in this particular page. So these are all the things which can be done by meta tag in your HTML document.
Well, we will discuss about the comments. Comments are basically something in a document which is completely ignored by the browser. Means even if you will write the comment on your HTML page, either on the head or on the body, so it will not be reflected as the output in the browser. Why? Because comments purpose is to give the information to your colleagues. For example, today I as a web designer in a company is designing a web page. Maybe tomorrow or some other day I will resign and some other employee will come and will work on the same web page. So the comment which I will write today will help him out that why I have put some particular tag or whatever I have done. I can actually keep on explaining for whatever I'm doing while designing a web page inside the comments. So it will be basically a good practice to write comments when you are working on a big documents. It will in fact help you also out after a few days. Like today I created a very big document, maybe after some time I'll forget something about it. I can go there again, I can read the comments and I will get my information back. So let's see how to write the HTML comments now.
So now in context of comments, as here you can see, I have already created a demo page where I have put a heading that comment doesn't come in browser. So let's try to add a comment right before this heading, and in order to put that, what I'll do, I will write a comment like this which will begin with the exclamation symbol inside the angular bracket and then followed by 2 hyphens. Now after that you can write whatever you want in order to pass some information about a particular segment or about your web page, which will be helpful for the new developers or new designers which will work on the very same page. And after writing the text, you can just close it again by a couple of hyphen symbols followed by the closing of your angular bracket. So let's save it and come to the browser where I'll refresh and see that comment doesn't come in browser, but I'm not able to see any comment on the top of this. If I'll come and see the page source, then only I will be able to see the comment, but in the main output screen it is not visible. So as I said in the description as well, like in order to give some details, some description or some crucial information about the new designers or developers who are coming to the same page to work, you can use the comment to make their life and your life in future easier.
We will see how to add images in your web pages. Basically, images are a very easy and common way to make your web page more expressive and attractive. So, images play a very important role in your web development. So, let's see what all options are available, what all attributes are available with the img tag, which will help us in adding the images. So, let's see a practical implementation of adding the images in your website.
So before starting by putting the image on the web page, let's see where my images are actually located. So here in the E drive in the folder called HTTP pages, I have created my web page called first.html, and right here in the same folder I have a directory with the name images, which is containing a couple of images, that is the html.jpg and logo.png. So here in this example I'll try to put this logo.png in the web page. So now for doing that, let's come to the Notepad++, and here I'll put the tag called img. So here you can see img src. So src is the source. So here I will tell you the location that images, that's the name of the directory. Here I am passing the relative path, and that is actually the good practice. So just try to put all the related documents, images in the same location where you are putting your web pages. So when you will move your web page, it will all move together. So inside images, I have an image called logo.png. For any reason, maybe for the network issue or maybe any issue, if the image is unable to get loaded, then in that particular case the alt means the alternate text will be there. For now I don't want any border for my image, so that's why I have put border is equal to 0 and it will be aligned left. So let's save these changes and come to the browser. When I'll refresh, here you can see the image is being displayed. If I'll make some changes in the border, so you can see the border will appear around the image. And similarly, for any reason, if the image is not getting loaded, so I have just changed the name, so the image will not come, so rather this alternate text will be there in that location. Alright, so let's get back to the image. Now if you want to change the alignment, you can use the align left right. By default it was left now, so and now it is right. Along with that, you can also use the attributes like height and width in order to make the changes in the height and width of the image. By default the image will come in its default size. So I want height to be 50 pixel and width to be 100 pixel. Alright, so let's refresh it, and here you can see the size of this particular image is altered. So for now I am just using this image for the presentation purpose. Later, as per the requirement, we can also make it hyperlink, but we will discuss all those things in our coming videos for the hyperlinks. For now, this is how you can add images to your web page.
As the name said, table means it will be the tabular format comprising rows and columns inside it. So basically the main use of tables in classic HTML is to arrange the layout of your web page. So using the tables, and you can even nest a table inside a table, you can actually design a structure or a layout of your web page, like what all you want to put on the top, like logo or any tagline, name of your organization. After that, in what way you want to put the content, like some links, then some image or whatever you want to put. So using the different tags related to table and the different attributes related to table, you can actually structure your web page. So let's see a practical implementation of what all we have in your table tag in HTML.
So let's start with a very basic example of table. So in this particular example, what I have done is, first of all, I put a table tag followed by the border where I put the value 1. So basically we have already seen the border attribute in images where it was basically an outline around the image. So here it will do the same thing with the table. Now, in this particular table, I want to use a couple of rows, and in each row, I want 2 columns. So, to do that, what I have done, first of all, I have added one tr. Inside that, we have put 2 TDs, alright? Like first TD inside this, I have put row 1, column 1, another TD in which row 1, column 2. So in the same row, it will be 2 columns. Once we are done with this, we will add another TR followed by 2 TDs inside, as we have already done here. So let's save this and come to the browser for the output. So here you can see this is the row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, and again in the another row, row 2, column 1, row 2, column 2. Alright, if you want, you can add another row with this very same manner. Alright, like one more tr. I'm not changing the text, so if I'll come, you can see one more row out there. By default, the width of the table and the cells depend on the content which you are putting inside. If you want to change the width, you can actually give it a value like width is equal to 500 pixels. Alright, so now it will be taking that particular size. Along with that, you can observe like this text is actually getting started from the very means it's just connected to the borders or the edges. Alright, if you want to give some space between the text and the corners, you can actually use the attribute called cell padding. Alright, so in cell padding, if you give any value, let's say 5, so basically there will be some distance, and now you can see there is some gap between the text and the edges of this cell. Similarly, if you want to give some space between the two cells, you can use another attribute called cell spacing. So in cell spacing, if I'll give any value, let's say 5 again, so now the difference between the cell will be increased. So these are the some common attributes of the table, that is the cell spacing, cell padding, width and border. Now let's give some heading to each column of the table. So for doing that, if you want to show some data inside a table in a tabular format, so you can also give it a heading. And for doing that particular thing, what you can do, you will have to add another row, that is tr. Since it is heading, it should be in the top of the table. Alright, and now inside this we have put a couple of headings, that is the table heading. This is tabular data and this is table heading inside a table row. Alright, so now since the first column is containing the name, I'll put a name followed by the salary. Alright, so let's put any value. So there are some data which I have entered. Alright, let's come to the browser and refresh, and now here you can see there is name, salary, which is the heading. Automatically they are centered alignment and they are bold, and followed by the 3 records where each column is containing a name and salary. So these are the things which you can use for displaying data in a tabular format. But you can also do a lot of more things inside a table. Let's say if you want to merge 2 rows or 2 columns, or maybe more than 2 or columns, so you can use the options called call span and row span. Call span to merge the columns, while row span is to merge the rows. So for that, I will again use the initial table which we used for the introduction of the table reference. Alright, let me add one more row out here. So that will be row 3, column 1, column 2. Alright, so and let's add one more actually column in all these 3. So 3 rows and 3 columns. So column 1, column 2, column 3. Let me do this in all the TRs. So now this one is done. Let's see the output now. So this is how it is looking like. So let's say I want to merge these 2 columns now. Alright, what I want to do is I want to merge row 1, column 2 and row 1, column 3. So for that, what I'll have to do, I will have to make changes in this particular column. that is row 1 column 2. So let's come here in row 1 column 2, and here what I'll do, since I want to merge two columns, I will use call span. And how many columns I want to merge? This 1 and 2. So I'll say call span is equal to 2. So basically after that, this will be merged to this column. So I will have to remove this column because the only column means this row 1 column 2 is taking the space of two columns. It is merging two columns as a single. So I will remove this row 1 column 3. So let's refresh and see. This particular column is taking the space of two columns in this particular fashion. Similarly, if I want to merge row 1 column 2 to row 2 column 1, row 1 column 1 to row 2 column 1, I can do that as well. So since here I was using call span, here I am merging two rows, so it will be row span. So again, I will start the things from here because this is the first cell in the list. Remember when I was merging these two columns, so this was the starting cell. When I'm merging these two rows, again this is the starting cell. So I will make the changes only in the starting cell. So let's come to row 1 column 1, where I will use row span. And in this row span, how many rows I'm going to merge? Since I don't have any bigger table, so I'm just merging two rows and columns. You can create a bigger table and you can merge more than two rows and columns. So here what I have done is there is row span 2. So what it will do? It will be merged from this and this. So basically what I'll have to do, I will have to remove this row 2 column 1. So let's come here and remove this row 2 column 1, save this and come to the browser, and here you can see these two cells have been merged. So let's add one more thing here. This is how, as we learned, this is how we can start merging the rows and columns. Now I can also add a caption out here. This is merging cells example. So whenever you want to put a caption to your table, right after the table tag, before the cells, before any row, we should add the caption. So as similarly I have done here. So let's come here and see, this is the caption. Alright, so this is merging cells example. Similarly, if you want to change the color of your table, you can use the BG color attribute. Alright, so here in the BG color, what I'll do, I'll use a color tan. Let's come here and refresh. You can see the background of the color is changed to tan. Similarly, if you want to put any background image, you can do that. I don't have currently any proper background image, so but if you want, you can do using the background attribute. I can pass any image. So let's add the image called logo.png, which I used for the images example also, which is nothing but a Tutorialspoint logo. Alright, it's not image, it's images. So let's come to the browser again and let's refresh. So here you can see the image is being added as a background. As I said, you should go for a valid background image which will give a pleasant output to your tables. Similarly, if you want to add the header or footer for your table, you can do that as well with the tags called thead and tfoot. So what is that? This is basically the head of the table. This is the footer of the table. Alright. So it is call span 4, but I think I don't have so much calls. So I'll just use call span 3 here because we just have 3 cells maximum in our table. Alright, in a row. So let's come here and refresh. But first let me remove this image that is quite disturbing here. So let's remove it here. Alright, so here you can see this is the header, this is the footer. Though I added this tfoot at the top, but since it was tfoot, it will anyhow go at the bottom. Alright, so these are the different attributes and different tags inside a table which you can use for designing a table. And as I said in the description, you can use the nested table in order to make the designing of your web pages.
By the time you start working on a web page,
Sometimes you come across situation like you want to give some points. Like under any particular paragraph, you may require some points like the number of mobiles available, means the model of mobile available in your website or anything. So for that purposes, you have the option of the list tags. In HTML, we have three kind of list, that is the ordered list, unordered list and the definition list. So let's see a practical implementation where we will find the similarity and differences between each of these lists.
So let's begin the thing with the unordered list. In order to put the unordered list, I will use the UL tag, that means unordered, and inside this I will put the LIs, that is the list item. So basically here I'm trying to make a list of all the web development technologies. So here if you want, you can also give an heading like H3 web development. Alright, I'll close that H3. Now there will be an HR, horizontal line, align, left, and width is 50%. Alright, so let's save it, come to the browser. So here you can see web development, that's the heading, and here main thing is here you can see the content. Alright, so basically this is, as you can see here, this is something called disk, the type of bullets which we are using, and after that we are putting the content. Alright, so all these four elements have been shown here as a part of the list. Now if you want to change the type of the bullets that you are using, you can use the different options like square. If you use square, it will be square in shape. Alright, as you can see here, these are now square in shape. Let me increase the font size to a bit more so that you can see it clearly. Initially it was disk, so even if I'll say type is equal to disk, it will be the default value. Alright, so again they have been changed to disk. And the third thing which you can do here is the circle. Now you can see this is the circle. Alright, so similarly you can get the concept of ordered list also, which is nothing but OL, that is ordered list, and the type. I'll not use the type in the first example, so let me start working with the OL. Now when I will work with the ordered list, obviously there will be some kind of numbering. So here you can see the numeric values have been shown like 1, 2, 3, 4. Similarly, you can also put the type attribute here. Here the type attribute will be a bit different. If I'll say type 1 means the same, the default value. But if I'll say small a, it will be like small abcd. If I'll say capital A, it will be capital ABCD in the numbering. If you want Roman numbers, I can put I. If I'll put I, it will be small Roman numbers with the dots at the top. If I'll say capital I, it will be like this. Alright, so let me continue with the small a. Now when you say small a, it will, or any ordered list, it will always begins with the initial position, right, like A, B, C, D. Now here what I'll do, I will put another thing called start. If you don't want to start from the very beginning, you can put any particular value. Let's say if I'll say 4, so it will be started with the fourth position. So the D is the fourth element, so D, E, F, G. Alright, so similarly you can also make these things in a nested way. For example, inside this ASP.NET I want to put another unordered list. Alright, so what I'll do, I'll say UL, and inside this I'll put LI. Let's say ASP.NET version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 and so on. Alright, so let's save this, come to the browser, and here you can see they are the nested inside this main ordered list. Alright, so this is how you can start working with these different kind of list options available with your HTML.
we will discuss about a very important tag that is for the hyperlink. So the basically tag which is associated to create this hyperlink is called the anchor tag and is returned as A, and this hyperlink is basically containing the location or the URL of the target location. That target location may be in some other web page or maybe in your own web page. So depending upon the location, you will just pass the reference of that particular location in your anchor tag, and as soon as you will click over that link, you will be in your destination. As I said in the previous videos, like whatever text which is used to create your web page is the hypertext, and if that particular text, some particular text is containing a link, that will be hyperlink. So here is the hyperlink which we are going to implement. So tag for hyperlink is called the anchor tag, as I just said, contains the link to a target location, and anything like if you want you can put an image, if you want you can put a text as a hyperlink, like you can put some images also. When you will click over that, you will reach some particular destination. So let's see a practical implementation of making the hyperlinks in your web page.
So here I'll start writing the hyperlink with an anchor tag which is nothing but A, that is anchor. Alright, and between this closing and opening tag I will write any text like click here for Tutorialspoint. Alright, so I want when a user will click over this hyperlink, it should reach the Tutorialspoint official website. So to tell the destination, I will use the href attribute, that is the hyper reference. And here what I want to do, I will take it to the www.tutorialspoint.com. Alright, it's not necessary that you should only take the World Wide Web path. If you have some local web pages which you have saved within HTML extension, you can give the location of that as well. So these are the external hyperlinks which you can make. So let's come to the browser, let's refresh it. Here I am getting the text, click here for Tutorialspoint. When I click, I will reach the destination. Alright, so here I have put the text between this hyperlink. If I want, I can also pass the image which I want to behave as a hyperlink. So for that I will use img src is equal to images slash logo.png. Alright, so I want that image should come here, height 100 pixels, width 200 pixel. Alright, so the target is still the same, so let's save it, come here. Okay, I am not able to get the image, why? Okay, so it should be src, not scr. Alright, so let's come here and refresh, and here you can see the image is being displayed. I'll click over it, and again the result is same. So this is how you can create the hyperlink for any text or whatever you will put between these anchor tags. Now what I'll do, I'll try to make one more kind of hyperlink, which is the internal hyperlink, for which we have to create a bookmark. So now let's do that. So what I'll do, I'll try to create a bigger page, because bookmark is something which is a part of your page and you want directly to jump there. So in order to create a bigger page, what I'll do, I'll just put a number of line breaks. Alright, so here I'm just using it like anything, and now after that, let's say I'll say it bookmark 1. Alright, and again maybe after that it has a lot of things remaining in this web page. Alright, now let's do one thing. What I want, when I'll click on this image or maybe anything which I have here as a hyperlink, I want to come here. So first of all, I'll have to make this as a bookmark. For that, I'll again use anchor tag. Alright, I'll close it after this, and here what I'll do, I will use the attribute called name. So it is bookmark 1.
This is bookmark 1 for me, alright, and I want to navigate to this particular point. So what I'll do, in this source I will use hash, and then after I will use the bookmark name, that is the bookmark 1. So let's come back to the page, let's click here, just refresh it. Alright, by mistake I changed the image SRC, but rather I should change the anchor hyper reference. So it is hash bookmark 1. Alright, now it will work. So there is an image, this is a big page, alright, as you can see. Okay, so I want to come directly to this particular point. So let's see how I can come. So let's click here, and you see it is bookmark 1, and here in the URL as well it is hash bookmark 1. Alright, so this is how you can use the internal hyperlinks, which will help you to navigate within your web page if it has a lot of content inside.
Basically, frame tag can be used in a parent HTML page where you want to put multiple HTML documents. Exactly. In this particular web page, we will not have a body, rather we will put a frame set tag, and inside that frame set I can actually divide my single screen into multiple windows, and in each particular window you can load a different HTML page. So as it is mentioned here, is used to divide your browser window into multiple sections. Each section will be used for loading a different HTML document. Alright, and since it is for the laptop or desktop, if you are working, it's fine, like you have at least 14, 13, 15 inch on your, depend on your laptop size. But if you're working on a tablet or in a mobile device, this one is not that suitable. But here we'll just focus on the basic of HTML, so we'll not be that much technical. So let's see how to use this frame tag and how to start splitting your single window into multiple. So let's start the frame implementation now.
So here in this implementation, as you can see, there is no body in this particular page. So what I'll do, I'll start classifying each and every frame out here. So for starting the implementation of frames, what I'll start with, I'll start putting the frame set. This frame set is basically the root element here, which will start making the frames out here in this web page. Now here, as you can see, I started with frame set, and the way I'm classifying here is rows. Alright, so that means I'm going to classify this complete page into the 3 different rows. That is, first at the top will be of 25%, then 50%, and then again at the bottom it will be 25%. So right after that, when I will plan like what particular page I want to display in each of the frames, I will have to go sequentially. Means the first frame tag which I will use here will be for the first classification, that is for the 25%. Then it is about 50%, so the second frame tag here will do it for 50% of area, and third one is again 25%, where it is about the third frame tag. In case if your browser doesn't support with the frames, then in that case I will put a tag called no frames, and if it is not being supported, you will get a message that your browser does not support frames. But mostly all the browsers nowadays supports the frame. So let's save this document and come to the browser. Let's refresh it here, and here you can see that there are some classification. Alright, the reason why I am not able to see anything, because I have not put any source inside. Remember, we will not do any designing or any other things inside this frame. Here we will just classify the frames into the multiple rows or multiple columns. Now if you want to display, definitely you want to display some pages inside. So here in SRC, either you can continue with some predefined pages from the World Wide Web, or if you have designed some and you want to show that, you can come to this SRC. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just showing you the existing pages, right? So it is tutorials tutorialspoint.com/html. Let's say in the first page, first frame, I want to show HTML tutorial. In the second, I want to show HTML5 tutorial, and in the third one, I want to show CSS tutorial. Alright, so let's save it, come back, and I'm refreshing it, and here you can see that in the top frame it is HTML, alright, the complete tutorial. Then it's HTML5 at the main frame right here, and at the last it is the CSS. Alright, so this is how you can split the frames in the rows manner. Similarly, if you want, you can do it in the column basis. So for that, I will say frame set calls. Initially I said frame set rows, but now I said frame set calls. Since it is columns, it will be like left, center, and right. Alright, it's just a name for the reference, and the tutorial which I'm going to show is the same. So let's come back here and refresh it. Now you can see it is shown in vertical positions in the columns basis. Alright, here is your menu, you can click. Alright, similarly here it's HTML5 and here it is CSS. So this is how you can start making it on the basis of columns. Now suppose if I want to make some more modifications, like I want this column, this third column, and in the middle column, in the bigger column, I want to split it on the basis of 2 rows. Alright, so for that, what I will have to do is, rather than putting this frame here, I will put another frame set tag, frame set rows this time. Alright, rows is equal to 50%, comma, asterisk. I can also put asterisk, so the remaining one will be assigned to the second row. Alright, so let's close this frame set first, and since I have divided this second column into 2 rows, again I will put 2 frame tags for that. Alright, so let me just copy this one, I'll paste it here. I will say HTML5, let's name it top, and the second one is bottom. Alright, let's put some other tutorial here, let's say JavaScript. Alright, so you can see this is HTML5, this is JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Alright, so this is how you can start customizing your frames, and you can just make the things more logical the way you want to split the windows out here with the help of frames.
Now we will discuss about the iframes. So basically the iframes will also do the same thing, that is, in this particular iframe we can load any other HTML document, but the only difference which we will see here is that we will not have to create a very separate parent HTML document containing the iframe, but in a normal HTML document itself, if I want to, for example, if I'm creating a normal HTML document and in one particular section I want to play a YouTube video, so I can just put the iframe tag in my normal HTML document, and that particular section, whatever height and width you are giving it to it, it will open the different window. So let's see how to implement the iframes in your HTML document.
So in context of iframes, as I said that we can add the body in iframes, as in the previous implementation of frames it was bodyless, it was just a frame set tag in the body area. But here we will add the iframe inside the main HTML body. That means you can do the complete page designing, but on a particular segment, if you want to do some other things, like you want to show some video, you want to show some other page reference, then you can put this iframe. So here in this simple implementation, what I have done in this body, I have put a couple of or 3 tags here. First one is a sample paragraph and last one is a sample paragraph, just to check that apart from iframe we can put some more things in the same document. And here in the iframe, what I have done, first of all, it is src, means which page or which element you want to show in this iframes, and then height and width of that frame. So whatever you will put, even if it's a video, you can show it that on a particular position. So let's come here in the browser and refresh it, and here you can see document content goes here, document content also go here, but here you can see in iframe there is the home page of Tutorialspoint, which I set here as the source. So this is how you can use as many as iframes logically you require on a web page and can refer to the different HTML documents.
We will discuss about creating the blocks using div tag. Div tag or division tag is basically a very common tag which you may find in any other HTML document, and it is used to basically grouping of different HTML elements. For example, if in a single web page you have the heading, paragraph or image for the different groups and you want to put a similar formatting for each group, then you can use the blocks, that is div tag, in order to put a common formatting for a particular section of your web page. So let's see a practical implementation like how to start working with the blocks and div tags.
Now, in order to make the blocks, what I have done for till now is I have put a couple of headings, the paragraph related to each heading, and few points for each heading. Alright, so basically as for my design of this particular page, this is the first block for me and this one is the second block for me. This is how this output is looking like. But if I want to put some formatting as a group, means whatever I want to put it for all the things which is residing in this first block. Similarly, I want to do the same things for the second block. So to enclose them in a single block, what I can do, I can add one div tag, alright, which will take care of a particular division of your web page. And now here I'll just close this. So this one is the first division, and right after this HR I will add another div, which I will close just before the body right here. Alright, so now this is how I made these two segments. Now if I'll do any changes inside this div, it will be reflected in each and every element inside it. So let's say I want to change the font color of the first section. So what I'll do, I'll put a style attribute. Alright, so basically we are not covering the style things here, but just for this reference I'm doing it here, though we will create another tutorial for the CSS where we will learn about these style things in a great detail. So what I'll do, I'll change the font color. So for that, color and colon, I'll say green. So let's come here and refresh it. You can see the first segment is completely changed to green color. Similarly, if I'll come to div, second div, and here again I'll do the same thing, like style is equal to color blue. So the second one will be changed to blue font. Alright, so this is how you can start making the segments or different blocks in a single web page with the help of this div, and can do all the grouping things, means grouping for group formatting or whatever change you want to do at once. So this is about the div tag in HTML.
So far in the HTML, whenever we are putting some text, it is actually coming in its default form, that is the font size, font color and the font family is all the same. But if I want to make some changes in order to make my web page look different and more attractive, I can actually change the way my font looks, and I can do that using the font tag. Basically nowadays we don't often use fonts tag, rather we use the style sheet in order to put some styles in our text. But here we are not going to discuss about style sheet, and even in HTML we can do that. By the time you will start learning about the style sheet, you will get some other ways also in order to design your font. But here, particularly in HTML, if you want to put some style in your text, you can do that using the fonts tag.
So let's see the implementation of font tag, where we will try to change the color, size and font family of any particular text. So let's start the implementation now.
So with the context of font tag, here I am using the attribute size at the first, and where I'm showing you like the maximum value or the minimum value that a size can have is from 1 to 7. Alright, so here what I'm doing, I'm using separate line for each font, and in each line you can see that I'm using different font size to show you. So here in the output you can see we have font size 1 to font size 7, and you can check all the font sizes. If you use any other size apart from 7 like 8, so you can observe that there will be no change in the size. Alright, so that means the maximum size that a font can have here in this way will be 7. But we can also pass the font size relatively. That means, as here in this example you can see, from the current font size, if you want to decrease a font size or if you want to increase a font size as per the current font size, so in that way you can use this -1 or +1. So it will increase or decrease the size relatively. So here now you can check, like this one is -1, then when you will do +1 it will be from the relative one, and again you can see font +4. Alright, if I will not change any size right here, then definitely you can see this one will not be coming in any different size, but rather it will be taking the default font size. But if you will pass +3, means if you will pass 3, it will be having a different size, not relatively. Alright, but in font size +3 it will relatively increase its size. By default 3 size is not that big, as you can see here, because it is increasing relatively, means +1 is being done here, then +2 is being done here, then from there +3 is being done here. So this is the relative font size which you can increase by the time you are using the font size. But apart from size, you can also check the font face, means the different font style which you want to use. So as you may have the different fonts installed in your system like Times New Roman, Verdana, Comic Sans MS, Wild West and Bedrock. Alright, so here I am taking the same size for all, that is 5, but the font face is different in each case. So this is the different font phases that we have in our system. If there is any font that is not installed on your system, then it will be displayed on the default font face. And finally, let's have the information about the font color. So when it's about color, we have the n number of ways of passing the color, which I'll show you later. But here what you can do, like font color, this one will be the pink color, while this is clearly written red. So when we'll check that in the browser, here you can see this is pink, this is red. So in a font tag you can pass several things like font size, font face and font color. Now as far as the color is concerned, so you can come here in the HTML tutorial of Tutorialspoint in a chapter colors. So here they will tell you about the different way you can pass a color, and along with that they'll also show you the formation. Like the first one is the standard way of colors, that you can take the color names. Alright, like this, like we have already done that in color red. Apart from that, you can also give the hexadecimal code of that. Alright, so it will be starting with hash, and then you can make different comparisons, like all zeros, 6 zeros will be black, 6 Fs will be white, and after that you can make it RGB, means different pattern. You can make different combinations through that. So these are the way. Along with that, you can use the RGB method property here, in which you can pass different parameters. Again, it is for the RGB, means the first one for red, second is for green, and then for the blue. So these are the different ways which you can use,
and in that particular manner you can just make these different combinations in order to create such fancy color. So if you like any color from it, you can just copy the particular code and you can start implementing that. For example, if I'll copy this particular font color, so and I'll put it here, so obviously it will not be pink now, but yes, I'll not change the text. Let's come back here and let's refresh this, and here you can see now it is having the similar color as of this one. So this is how you can start working with the font tag and can pass various attributes like color, face and size.
We are actually going to cover a very important kind of tag, that is a form tag. This form tag is actually the first step in making your website dynamic. So basically, whenever in general you design a form for taking the user input, there could be only one form tag inside a HTML page. So it is required to collect some data from the user, like when a user is watching the web page, he simply can't enter any text inside it. So if I want to take some information, I will create a form which will contain some controls inside it, like text box, drop down list, buttons or something. So depending on which kind of input you want to take, you will choose your desired control. When you will fill up the form and will click on the submit button is again one kind of control inside. So it will actually post the data to the web server, and this is where the dynamic website comes into the picture. So whenever you click on the submit button, it will submit the data, it will post the data on the back end, that is any CGI script, ASP, ASP.NET, ASP script, any PHP script could be there. Alright, so basically it's just about scripting, but nowadays we do have something like MVC, ASP.NET, we do have a lot of advanced web server technologies. So you can use any in order to get that submitted information. So different controls are used inside a form, as I just said, like depending on which kind of data you are going to take from the user, you will decide the form, you will decide the control which you want to take. Now leave about the controls, but when you will put the form tag, there are some very famous and important attributes that you must know about. So the first attribute that a form tag has is the action attribute. Action basically is the location of the confirmation page, like when you click on the submit button, this action page is something which comes to the user to tell that okay, your form is being submitted successfully. So here you can actually give the URL of any confirmation page that will appear in the browser as soon as your form will be submitted. Method is something like when you submit the data, it's about whether you want to put it in the get or post. Get request is basically something when you make a first request for any page, that is when you are getting something, that is the get request. But when you are filling up the form, you are clicking on the submit button, you are actually posting the data. So in maximum cases we will use the post as a method. So basically there are two things: get when you make a first call for any form, and post when you submit the data. So here we will use the post. And target is actually the location of the script which you want to execute as soon as the submit button is clicked. So these are the attributes which will pass, which we'll see while using the form attributes. Now, as I said that for the different purposes we have the different controls. So here we have text box, password box in order to take the string or password, like encrypted text. Checkbox, radio buttons in order to take the choices. If you want to take single choice, you will go for radio button. If you want to take multiple choices, you can go for checkbox. Like if you want to find the hobbies, so there can be more than one hobby, reading, cycling or something. So you can use checkbox, but in a situation like there is only one choice is required, like the payment mode. It will either be from Visa, MasterCard or for internet banking or whatever, right? You can't choose multiple payment options for a single transaction. So for that you will go for radio buttons. Buttons, there are submit button for submitting the form. There is a normal button for any particular action which you can define in JavaScript later.
There's a reset button which will clean up the form. So there are different kind of buttons. Drop down list, if you want to get some choices, the list of choices, and you can select like country. There's only one country in which you are living in, so out of a big list you can choose your country. So these are all the common controls that we are going to cover in this implementation. So let's start a very basic implementation of forms where we'll see the different attributes followed by the different controls.
So now let's start creating a form inside this HTML document. For doing that, what I'll do, inside body I'll write a form tag which will definitely have a closing tag, and whatever I want to put inside this form I'll start putting within these tags. Obviously it will contain some of the plain text along with the controls. But before coming to the controls, let's see what attributes I can pass along with the form tag. So the first thing which I can do here is the action. When I say action, that means which particular page or which particular script you want to show or execute by the time this form will be submitted. Every form should have one submit button, so whenever you will click over that, it will take you to this action page. So if you are working in a website in which you are creating some of the pages, and if there is any confirmation page for showing a message that the form is successfully submitted, then you can pass the URL of that particular font right here. Now after that, there is something called method, means in which way you want to post this particular form to the server. Means there will be two options generally, that will be either get or post. So in get, when you are making some fresh request to get some new data, you will make the get request. But if you are submitting the form content to the server, you will go for the post. So in maximum cases I will go for the method post. Now inside this form tag, now I can start working with the different controls. Like here, I'll start working with the text box, which is actually the very common control which is used on a website. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just taking a couple of fields here like first name and last name, and for taking the names I will use a text box which will allow a user to write any content of string type over the browser. So for that I will use the input tag, in which type attribute value will be text. Even if you will not pass any value for the type, by default input tag will give you the text box control. Now the next thing is name or ID you can use, which is used for the uniqueness of all the controls over a web page. In future, if you are trying to access the value of any particular control, then in JavaScript you can use the methods like document.getElementById or document.getElementByName. But we have covered that in a separate JavaScript tutorial that you can go through in Tutorialspoint website. So these are the couple of controls that I have added just now. Let's come to the browser to check how they're looking like. So here you can see there are a couple of things like first name text box and last name text box. Now if you want to make some more changes out there, you can definitely do that. Like for example, max length. Max length means if in a database where you are submitting the value, if you have make a size of a particular column, let's say the first name column in database is taking not more than 20 characters. So what I'll do, I'll make max length as 20 so that a user should not be able to enter more than 20 characters. So like if I'll start entering the value, so these are the 20 characters. After that, even if I'm pressing the keys, it will not accept any kind of value. Similarly, if you want to change the size of the particular control, so for that you will set the width of it, and accordingly you will be able to see how big your text box is. Similarly, we do have one more attribute called placeholder, which will give you a help text in your text box. Let's say I'll say enter first name So here
you will be able to see this text. Alright, but as soon as you will start entering something, that placeholder value will go away. So these are the different attributes which you can use with the text box. Now let's start with another control, that is password. So for that I have taken again a couple of fields like user ID and password, which is a very common example for that. So again, for text box, for user ID, I'll use a text box, alright, like input type is equal to text, because I want to see the user ID value. But in other hand, it's about password, where I will accept the dots. So dots means it should not be visible to the user. So for that it is the password. So when we'll come to the browser, here you can see the first value you can see, but here whatever I'll write, you will just be able to see the dot. So this is the password. Again, you can set the maximum length and the size of the text box, that the way you were doing that in normal text box. But in case you are required to take some bigger values from the user, then rather than going for the text box, single line text box or password, obviously not, you can go for the text area. Like here there is a field called description, for which I want some big entries to be done. So for that what I have done, there is text area control which I have used. There is no input tag, text area is itself a tag here. Rows and columns means how much height and width you want for that text area on the basis of characters. So it will take 50 characters in the width, that is calls, and 5 rows. Obviously when you will increase the content, there will be some scroll bars scrolling which you can read the complete content. And as I said, name, which is used for the uniqueness of any control, and later you can actually retrieve the control if you want to get the value through JavaScript. So let's refresh it, and here you can see there is the text box. Alright, so now here you can see whatever I can write, like this is text area. Alright, if I'll keep writing the things will be wrapped. Alright, and when I will be done with the 5 rows as per the size, I will get the scroll bar which you can see right here. So this is how you can work with the text area in order to take the bigger values from the user. But if I don't want to take any text data from the user, rather I want user to choose some of the options which I want to give, so for that I will use the control called checkbox. So here in this particular example I am using the checkbox, inside which there are a couple of options, that is math and physics, and I have already given the name like math and physics for the internal purpose. So whenever you will require to take some value, some options from the user, or to give some options to the user which a user can choose, make sure when you are using checkbox, user can go for the multiple selections as well. So here you can see maths and physics, there are 2 checkboxes. Alright, if you want that one checkbox should be checked by default, then you can pass the attribute called checked. So when you will refresh, by default this math checkbox will be checked, while the second one, that is physics, is unchecked. But as I said, this is checkbox and multiple selections can be made using checkboxes. If you want that only one option must be selected, then in that case I will go for the radio button. And for that, rather than input type is equal to checkbox, I will use input type is equal to radio. But as I said, in radio button you will only be able to check the single value, but that will only be possible when you will give the same name to these checkboxes. Alright, if the name is different, you will be able to select the complete radio buttons. Reason is, when you will give the same name, then only both or all the radio buttons will be categorized for a single field, and out of that field only one value will be able to choose. So let's see here the output. Now there are 2 radio buttons, and out of that only one can be selected. Let's say if I will change the name of any of the checkbox, radio button, sorry, but so in that case I will be able to choose both. So make sure in all the radio buttons of the same category, you will pass the same name for the ensuring the single selection. Now, if I want to give a list to the user in which I want that user should be able to choose a single value, then drop down control is actually a very famous control in that sense. So let's see how we can create the drop down control here, and for that I will use the select tag. Name is drop down, you can give any logical name to the control, and inside that drop down, depends how many values you want to give in the list, you will pass that particular kind of option, means number of option. Each option will actually add one element in the drop down. Value maths, here I want to show the text as math, and whichever value, only one value can be selected by default, so whichever is that particular value, you can pass the attribute called selected. So that value will be shown by default. So here you can see there is a drop down in which math is being selected by default. Even if I'll refresh this particular page, you will be able to see that again math is chosen by default. So this is your drop down control. Now here we'll find some kind of controls, those are actually the buttons. So basically what I'll do here, I'll say input type is equal to submit, input type is equal to reset, and input type is equal to button. As in the beginning of this form video, I said that every form should have one submit button, on clicking on which you will go to your action page. So here is the submit button, and that is how you can make it. Name is submit and the value, means the text over the button is I want submit. Similarly, there is a reset button. If you will click over it, all the controls in the field on the text box will be reset, means they will be blank. There is button which can be used for any particular purpose, like for OK or for cancel, for whatever you want. You can just add a button, and whatever you want to do, you can write the functionality in the JavaScript. And the very same thing you can do with the image button also. The only thing with the image button is you can make it fancy. You can just design the kind of button you want in as an image, and then you can put that over this input type is equal to image. Basically it will be different from that of the image tag, that img tag, which we have already learned in this video. But this input type is equal to image will behave like a button where you will be seeing the image. So let's come to the browser and refresh it. So here you will be able to see the submit, reset, OK, and again there's a button. Alright, now add one text box here at the top. As I said, for text box I can just write input, because by default the input is the text box. Alright, so now when I'll enter something, I'll say reset, you can see the value is gone, while when I'll submit, again the value is gone, but we'll consider that this time it's being sent to the server. And let's say in action I have given a URL. For now I'm just again referring to my website tutorialspoint.com. So let's refresh it here. Say continue. When I will submit it here, you will be able to see the tutorials point. As I said, like action page is something which will be there in front of a user when you will submit a page. So this is how I got to know about this action page, because we clicked on the submit button. And the final control in the list is the file upload. In case you want to upload any image or document on the website, then you can go for the input type is equal to file. It will accept all the kinds of images, so that is image / asterisk. Alright, so this is the MIME type which I am setting for my file upload for the incoming files. So let's come here in the browser, let's refresh it. Alright, so when I click on choose file, it is just showing the image files. Alright, if I'll say all files, you can see the different kind of files, but for now it is only showing me the image files, and all that kind of image files, because it is image / asterisk, so that's why PNG, JPG, all bikes are being displayed. When you will click it, open it, the name of that particular image will be here. And then you can add a button in which you will write some JavaScript code to upload that particular file and to save it on the server side. So these are all the HTML controls that you can use along with the form control.
We are going to discuss about the marquee tag. For a beginner, this marquee tag can be a bit attractive as it will give you the moving text or image. So basically whatever you will put inside the marquee tag, you can see that scrolling or sliding across your browser window. So let's see a practical implementation of this marquee tag.
So for the moving text, what I'll do, I will use the marquee tag, and whatever I will put inside this marquee tag will start moving. So let's save it, and here in the browser you can see that I have this moving text. By default, this moving text is coming from right to left in your window, but using some attributes you can actually make some changes out here. For example, if I'll change the direction to right. Alright, so now you can see it start coming from right. Similarly, we do have some more options, like that's down. Alright, so it is coming down from top. If I'll say direction up, it will start moving in the upward direction. Alright, as you can't see much things about here, so for increasing the height, I will use the height attribute and I will make it around 40% of the complete window size. So here you can see this one is moving in the upward direction. Now we do have the concept called behavior associated with the marquee. So as far as behavior is concerned, I have three values, that is scroll, slide and alternate. By default, the scroll attribute is set for this value, for this attribute, but if you want you can make some changes as well, like slide. Alright, so when I use slide option, it will just come and stop as soon as it reaches the destination. Alright, similarly if I'll use alternate, it will keep on coming from top to down and from down to top in the alternate manner. You can also do the nesting of marquee tags in order to do some customizations out there. So for that, what I'll do is I will just use one more marquee tag here with the direction right. Alright, and I'll keep the behavior as alternate only, and I'll close a couple of marquee tags. As I opened two, I'll have to close two as well. So here when I'll start doing that, so you can see both direction top and right are working simultaneously. As far as the alternate behavior is also working with both of these marquee tags. Alright, so this is how you can start working with the moving text in HTML.
If I want to play a video or an audio file in my HTML file, how can we do that? So here we're actually going to use the embedding tag in order to embed any media object in your HTML page. So in this particular example, I'm going to play a video for you which will be using an embed tag in my HTML, and the output will be the video in your browser running. Make sure that you have some plugins, basic plugins for the media files installed in your browser, otherwise your browser will not support any of the media element. So let's see how to start embedding the media objects in your HTML.
So as discussed, if I want to use some media element in a web page, I'm going to use the embed tag out here. So here in embed tag, what I'll have to do is the src, means where the video or any media file is located. So here it's a media element, it means there is a folder called media, inside which the media element, means this video called video.mp4 is located, and this directory media is at the same location where I have saved my HTML file. Now here I am giving the relative path for accessing this video. It is as same as we did it for the images. Now, once the player for this media will be added in your browser, you will mention the height and width of that particular browser. In case your browser doesn't have a plugin to play that particular kind of video, we can use the no embed tag right inside this embed. So in case this media element will not be supported by the browser, I will get this message. In other hand, you can also put an image or any GIF which may replace that video, or that may tell about the unavailability of video for any reason. So whatever you want to put when the video is unplayable over your browser, you can put the thing inside this no embed tag. So let's come back to the browser and refresh it and see how this particular page is looking like. So as here you can see, this is one of the video of Tutorialspoint of JavaScript which I have located in that particular location, and now as soon as I refresh this page, it is started. So in the very same way, you can just put the different kind of files, like it is MP4, you can put all those file extensions available here which can be supported by the browser. So this is how you can start accessing the video elements or any media elements through HTML. Though in real-time web development, we do have some more tools and better tools, like in HTML5 we have some other way to include the video, or whichever technology you will be working on, they may provide you some of the different controls which will give you some more advanced features of any media element or any video player. So this is all about how you can access the video through HTML.